Hello, Ryerson. I'm Alexia Kapralos, and today on this Halloween 2014, I am at Corus Entertainment in Toronto, sitting with Fred Kennedy.
Thank you.
You're known as Fearless Fred.
Yes.
From 102.1 The Edge, as well as Teletoon at Night. So how are you doing today, Fred?
I'm pretty good, man. How are you? Are you enjoying Halloween so far?
Yes, I am.
Good.
How did you kickstart your career in radio broadcast?
I think about the way I used to think and the way I used to act. I was a lot more bold than I am now. I think it's just because I was young and brash. And I dropped out of high school and then I went back to high school so that I could upgrade my marks to get into radio school. But when I was there, the course I was taking, which was Nova Scotia Community Colleges, NSCC, the program was half TV and half radio, and I didn't want to do TV at all. And I was doing and this was technical TV analog stuff, so the caliber of the equipment was way old. The things that you had to do were very much more involved than with a lot of the digital stuff, and I hated it. And so I started taking my radio demo from the college station. I was sending it out to local radio stations trying to get a job, and then I got a job, and as soon as I got that job, I talked to my radio teacher, should I go? And he was like, there's nothing you're going to learn here that you're not going to learn working full time. So I just dropped out and I just went and worked. That's what I did. I don't recommend that because it was hard, but I'm just saying that's what I did to kickstart my career.
How did you start here at 102.1 The Edge once upon a time?
Well, when I started working for Corus Toronto, the Corus network has a bunch of TV stations. And what they do is they try and double dip, meaning they try and cultivate Corus talent. And so when I got here, had been called up to do voice auditions and all that stuff for narrating TV shows, things like that. And I got an email one day from our general manager saying, would you like to work with Teletoon? And I was thinking, okay, this is just voiceover stuff. And so then I went to this meeting to sit down with people, and they're like, no, it's on camera. And I went, oh, okay. And so they asked me all these questions about Teletoon, and like I said, when I dropped out of school, that's when Teletoon had launched. And I would, after my shift at Earl's, which was the restaurant I worked at, I would stay up until 3 in the morning watching cartoons because I was a bit of a burnout at the time. And when I told them about how I loved Teletoon, it all just transitioned really well, and they offered me the job, and it was so weird how it all went down that I didn't even tell anybody that I had the job until the day it aired, because I was convinced that something would go wrong and it wouldn't happen, because it was just weird. It was very serendipitous. It all seemed to just fall together, which is probably pissing a lot of people off by saying it, but that's really what happened. The college thing, man. I'm not here to do the college thing. I'm here to get a job. And so it became a bit of a popularity contest almost, and only the cool kids in our class did anything on camera because they were all hanging out, and I hated dealing with all of it. And so then to be able to go on camera now, where the people I'm working with are all professionals in the sense that they just want to go in, they want to create good content. And a lot of the stuff that we do is just interstitial promo stuff, but a lot of stuff that we've been doing, especially lately, we've created some really cool stuff from a video standpoint. We do this video stuff like What's in Mel's Mouth for the radio that airs on Teletoon too. So it's a cool concept, and now media is really interwoven, online, broadcast, broadcast radio, broadcast TV. Everything is coming together. It's a scary time for traditional media because everything's changing, but it's exciting because there will always be a home for good content. And now they're taking the reins out of the studio, and I think from an on-camera perspective, I'm not as worried about it as the sales and executive type people might be scared of it.
What would you say is the biggest difference between working in television versus radio?
Radio is so much better. It's so much more fun. It really is. What I'm saying is because TV, let's just say you're in the TV studio, you're doing a break, you got 45 seconds. It has to be to time. Your turns, the way you transition from one topic to another, has to be very clear. The wording has to be concise and perfect. You've got to hit the jokes right. There's so much that has to be done properly. Whereas in radio, let's turn on the mic. We'll talk for 2 or 3 minutes. Like, and it's so variable, and it's live, and anything can happen, and it's relaxed. Like, it's very relaxed. Like, TV, like when you're watching George Stroumboulopoulos, like his interview show, like tonight, that he was doing The Hour, any of that stuff that he was doing, what you saw on TV was about a third of what was happening. Like, it's 1 hour of 3, and it's the best hour. So it seems so good and so natural and so amazing. And when you watch it live, it is really good. It is really amazing. But it's not nearly the same as the product you're seeing at the end. It's very edited down. Whereas with radio, at least my show anyways, sometimes we really drop the ball because sometimes it's all live. So I love that nature of it. You're walking a tightrope with no safety net. That's what I love about radio. Some people like TV better because I screwed up, let's do it again. I hate that part of it. It's like, let's just do it.
Have you ever felt that your career has hit a rock bottom?
Yeah, totally. Actually, yeah, I really did. After my very first job, it was in Nova Scotia, and I got fired from my job because I had an attitude problem. I had an ego. I thought I was too good. I was just a dick. I was a bag of dicks. This happens a lot to young announcers is if you get a lot of success early in your career and nobody's there to keep you in check, it can ruin you. It can ruin you because you get this attitude. You feel so much better than everybody and you treat people like shit. And I got fired from this job, ended up working for my uncle for a while, and I was sending out demo tapes to get a new job, and then I went to Dryden, Ontario. And I got this job, they gave it to me, and I didn't even know where Dryden was. I took the job and had to find an atlas to figure out where it was I was moving to. And when I got there, there's this guy there named Richard McCarthy. He still works there. And he was the program director. My very first day that I was there, he told me that I didn't have a very good voice and I wasn't very talented. And the sooner I learned to accept that Dryden would probably be as far as I ever made it in broadcasting, the happier I would be because I'd be putting less pressure on myself. And to me, rock bottom was believing it. And I believed it because I'd just been fired from a place for having an attitude, and I was thinking, maybe this is what I needed to hear. Maybe he's right. And after 2 years of being there full time, and like it was so awful, like it was restricted. I had a liner booklet that I was given. This is all I was allowed to do. Back sell, read these liners, front sell. Back sell, read these liners, front sell. That's all I did for 2 years. And I think subconsciously I was trying to get fired. And this place was so restrictive, they didn't even have a tape deck to record your air checks in. Because he said, why would I let you record your air checks? You'll just use them to leave. It was just the worst. It was like the worst place ever. And to me, working there was the best of times and the worst of times in the sense that I was so motivated to get the hell out of there, but it was so restrictive and awful that it took a lot of creativity to get to the next level in my career. So when anybody in this business complains to me, and I deal with it all the time, and then I look at the stations that they're at, and it's like, if you're not doing a good show, it's because you're not letting yourself. No one's hindering you from getting you to that next level. The shit that I dealt with, if I got through that and still progressed, you can get through anything. Like it's all up to you. And some people just suck. Oh, that was terrible. But it's true. I hear a lot of demos. There's a lot of bad people on the air.
What's the funniest thing to ever happen to you at work, whether it's at Teletoon or here at 102.1 The Edge?
Funniest thing working, funniest thing working at Teletoon was when it was during Caravana like 4 years ago, and we used to film in a studio that's actually the next room to where we're filming right now, and it's right on Sugar Beach, and there was a massive Caribbean marching band like right outside the window, and we had to stop shooting for like an hour, and it was very comical for me anyways. I thought it was hilarious. But yeah, I guess that's the funniest thing. In terms of funny stuff on the radio, I don't know, it's hard because all kinds of melds in, like cynical funny. When them Crooked Vultures were touring, this is like 5 years ago, we were supposed to have the whole band come in and do like a live set. So I was excited because like John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin is gonna come in and rock out on the bass on the air, and it was down at 228 Young, and we had like the street was practically shut down. There was like hundreds of people outside, and it was a storm and it was raining. And we got the call, they can't make it. Like, they can't make it. And there was all these hundreds of people outside. And I remember taking the call and being like, I'm so glad I'm not on air right now. And I just slunk out the side door and walked away. And as I was walking down the street, I heard this collective, oh! And I was like cynically laughing inside that I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming. And yeah, that was pretty funny. To me anyways, because I'm a horrible person.
You have two young, adorable children that I've seen pictures posted on Instagram. What is your secret for juggling a family life with a hectic work life?
Oh, having a good wife. Here's the thing, is that I remember when my wife and I were dating like over a decade ago, and I told her, I go, here's what you need to know. If you want to be in like a real relationship, I don't have a 9-to-5 job, so don't expect a 9-to-5 lifestyle. And we don't. And my wife actually, when we started dating, made more than double what I made as a salary. And so we both decided that if we had an accident and kids happened right away, I was done. I was taking time off, like I was going to be the stay-at-home dad, because both of us were very focused on there has to be a parent home with the kids. That's just, and that I'm not saying that's the best way. It's just that's what we wanted to do. That worked for us. And so when I came here to Toronto, my salary went up, and then I was making more money. And so when the kids came, it was like, you're going to stay at home with the kids, and it opened up more time for me to focus on the radio show and do the TV show and still have a little bit of time to do writing. And it's really just about sacrifice. And there's a guy named Stu Myers. If you ever get a chance to talk to Stu Myers, he works for Bell, formerly Standard, formerly Astral. He is the guy who years ago launched The Edge, like way back in the day. If you talk to George Stroumboulopoulos and you mention Stu Myers, just like me, he'll say he's the man. Like, Stu's God. Like, whenever I'm messaging back and forth with George, we always hashtag it Sons of Stu, because we both credit Stu Myers with really, you'll progress in your career and then you'll meet these people that will elevate you. And Stu Myers is one of those people. He's just a brilliant programming mind. And he had this line, he goes, this isn't my life, it's just how I make my living. And so I treat my job, it's just my job. This isn't my life, it's how I make my living. My focus is my kids, but they're my focus, but they're the reason that I work so hard, is so that I can have a career, so that at one point I'm not gonna have to work as hard. It's that Wayne Gretzky thing, work hard now, relax later. It's the idea. So I just divide my time, and I'm very fussy about, I don't waste my time. Do you know what I mean? It's always work or family. That's what it is. It sucks at times, but that's what you do when you have kids. That's what you should be doing when you have kids.
What's the most important lesson that in the media that you've learned thus far in your career?
Oh man, stay humble and be nice to people. I think that's the most important thing that I've learned. There's a lot of assholes in this business. There really are. And I've been doing this for about 15 years now. 16 years in March. That's a long time. I've been doing this for like 16 years now, and I have seen so many brilliantly talented people that are good, like they're really good, but their egos get in the way, and I'm thinking of people, and I'm not going to name names, and you can only be a dick to people for so long. You burn enough bridges. Here's the thing, it's like this, like you got to look at your business as like a chain of islands, right? And there's bridges between each of them. And as you go, and you keep burning those bridges, you're cutting yourself off. You're cutting yourself off from being able to go back and having places you can move and go. And if you get to a point where you've burned all your bridges, you're just stuck there in the end. And I can name you a lot of really talented people I know that have found themselves cut off. There's this one guy that I worked with in the very beginning of my career. His name was Peter Clark. And a lot of people made fun of Peter Clark at the time, because this was like the late 90s when CHR was booming and huge, because he had a bit of a Ronnie Radio sound. But he was really good. Like, he was really good with the phones, and he smoothed this sound out a lot. And he just couldn't keep his mouth shut. And he pissed so many people off. And he really limited himself into where he could go because he caused so many problems with so many people. And then in the end, man, he just hooped himself. And it's tragic. And he's just one of many. Like, be nice to people. And just remember that, like, everybody's got their own battle they're dealing with. So just be nice. Like, I always try and treat students the same way that I would treat my boss. Because you could end up working for somebody who, like, the perfect example, a guy who changed my career, Ryan Zimmerman is his name. This guy, he was a college student doing an internship, and he went to this one station, and this was in Medicine Hat, Alberta. And the guy who was doing afternoons treated him like dirt all the time. 3 years later, Zimmerman became a program director. And another 6, he was just a brilliant radio mind. And this guy who was the afternoon drive guy came to him looking for work. So you never know what could happen. And just be nice to everybody. That's really the best advice I can give you.
Okay, well, there you have it, folks. That was just Fearless Fred. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for having me.